Welcome back to the Better Lives podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca, Senior Manager of Community Engagement at Central Willamette Credit Union, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. We're joined by the student support team at Oregon Coastal Community College, a group that plays such a vital role in helping students and families connect with the support they need, whether that's food, housing, financial aid, or other resources. Thank you all for sharing, and it's great to have you here today.
Thank you. So good to be here.
So before we dive in, I'd love for each of you to just introduce yourselves, share your name and your role here at OCCC, and maybe just one thing you enjoy most about serving students in this way.
Tracy Jones. I'm the Student Resource Navigator. I run both the Basic Needs Oregon and the STEP programs. And I love serving the students and watching them grow through their educational journey. And then best part is getting to celebrate with them at graduation.
So my name is Ben Kaufman. I am the Dean of Academic Foundation and Student Success here. I've been here for about 13 years. And really, what Tracy said is really about student success and watching students achieve those goals, no matter if it's a certificate, a degree, or even getting their GED or ESOL certificate.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again both for being here today. We're really grateful to have you. So I think just jumping into it. So for, listeners that just may not be familiar with what exactly student support services look like, what does that really mean in practice here at Oregon Coastal Community College?
Well, for me, it means knowing all the federal, state, county, and local resources that a student can access to help them stay in school. I spend a lot of time helping students complete applications, paperwork, or looking for new resources because each individual student has individual needs. So sometimes it's something I haven't came up against. So I go looking for resources. Luckily, I have the help of the consortium. So there is a student resource navigator in all public universities and community colleges in Oregon.
That's great.
So I can call on them for their knowledge in their areas that I might be able to access.
That's great.
And really utilizing both internal and external resources, right? So we have, not only do we have those external resources in the consortium, but also partners such as WorkSource. Yep. We also have internal resources like our foundation. So really a community of support for our students.
That's great. That's great. And so you were saying, Tracy, that all community colleges have to have, I'm sorry, what was the role again?
The role has different names, but basically it's a basic needs coordinator that was mandated by the state through law of HB 2835.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So just in general, what kinds of challenges do students or families bring to you? Just what are some of those themes that you're seeing with your students recently?
Definitely for our first generation students, it's how to complete the FAFSA because their parents have never been through it.
I remember that.
It can be a nightmare. So I will sit down one-on-one with them and help them complete that. We also hold FAFSA nights here at the college, and our student success coaches will go to the high schools and help the students there. So that's one of the big ones. And of course, housing here on the coast is extremely expensive and few and far between. That's one of the major issues that I have the hardest time helping with. Transportation, because some of our students drive a long ways, 75 plus miles each way to get here, which does, I think, go to show how well our academic programs provide for the community. And so one of the things I try to do is keep gas cards on hand that the students can apply for, and we buy those through a grant from a nonprofit that gave us money to help the students. I'm very thankful for them. And I also try to have bus tickets on hand here at the college for the local students so they can get back and forth from town to here.
Yeah.
And really on top of that, we have resources to provide not only those bus passes and gas, but we can actually help with car repairs and that sort of thing too.
Oh, wow. And is that through your specific programs or specific grant funding?
Yeah, so that's another grant that we utilize called the STEP program, and that's for students on SNAP.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm curious because, we know that housing is it obviously like a huge issue across our state and our country, but specifically here on the coast. Can just from your experience of being here, like what is going on the coast that is really making housing so much more inaccessible for folks?
Mainly because we're squeezed between the ocean and the mountain, and there's no place to expand. Also, because we are a coastal community, we have a lot of Airbnbs that are taking up housing that could provide for students and their families. But mainly, yes, because there is lack of areas that we can expand into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think people, the housing crisis in Portland, the prices in Portland are well known. But, if you compare those prices with Lincoln County, they're really not that far off. Throw in an ocean view and, you automatically add $800,000 or whatever to the price of the house.
Yeah. So essentially, folks that have been in this community for a long time are just being priced out.
Correct.
And how it also seems like, housing construction is really not keeping up with the demand as well. That's kind of what we're seeing, I think, as well. But moving into just having this type of support, having these programs that you guys have, and the advocacy you do for your students, how do you think that type of support system affects students' success, really just academically, financially, and personally?
I did go back and take a look at the 23-24 academic year, which is last year I have the numbers for. And I found that the programs where I provided additional assistance to the students, our graduation rate and our retention rate was not significantly higher, but higher than the standard rate for the college overall. We had less rate of students that had to drop out because we were helping them generally meet the needs of that they were causing them to drop out because they needed to go to work to provide for those needs.
And I just want to add in, I think personally, it really increases that feeling of belongingness that students have to the institution, the connection to our staff, the connection to each other, feeling cared about and supported. I think that's really important when you're talking about persistence of the student. They're staying in school because they're feeling supported and part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, the struggle can be lonely. I think we all probably know that personally. And so having a group of people that you can kind of rely on, whether it be services or other folks that are going through similar struggles and are willing to talk about it, I think that's kind of, that helps break down some of the shame that people might also feel about struggling. So thank you both for sharing that. I think we're going to move in here just to talk about like partnerships and community impact. So, we know that you don't do this work alone, and you've already both spoken to that. Why is it important to connect students not just with services inside the college, but also with local nonprofits and community organizations? How do partners kind of play a role in the success for your students?
Well, not only do they offer resources for the students, but they offer a place to go after graduation when they're looking for work and have the ability to sorry, I'm gonna have to wait. It just went away.
That's okay.
You're gonna have to take off because my brain just shut.
It's okay. So one of the things that Tracy has done such a phenomenal job at is really building those connections within the community, and really 2 yearly events. One of those being a resource fair for students. So inviting resources from around the community to Oregon Coast Community College where students can learn more and access those programs. And then the other thing that's really, really cool is a resource summit. So in the spring, Tracy has different resources from around the community come here to the college and share about what they're doing so that everybody can be aware and kind of have that holistic support for the student.
It also allows the resources themselves to know any new resources that came into the community and any resources that shut down.
Which is so important. I think a lot of people who don't do work on the social service side of things, like there are services that come in and out probably, honestly, almost quarterly, wouldn't you say? I mean, so something could be available one month, some type of grant money, and then the next month it's gone. And how do you communicate that out to people in time, Because if you go to access a resource that you were promised was there and then it's not there anymore, that can kind of,
One thing that we're doing, it started with Oregon Coast Community College and WorkSource, but has expanded to a multi-agency committee to share what's going on with each other. And one of our goals is to bring together the resources, make one large event rather than several smaller events.
That is so great. So having organizations and services actually talk to one another.
Yes.
What a concept.
Yeah, I want to grab on to what you said about, resources kind of going in and out. I think one of the keys with Tracy's position is not only keeping kind of a list of up-to-date resources and that kind of thing, but again, just like what you said. So a student goes out, tries to access the resource. What do? They come back to Tracy and she can find a different resource for them.
Yes.
So it's critical to have this position for students to make those connections.
Yeah.
And sometimes even just accessing resources can, if you've never done it before, can be like a daunting idea in itself, like asking for help and then going through the process can really be tough. And sometimes that alone will keep people from accessing what they need.
Well, not only do I give them the name of the resources, I sit down and help them fill out the required paperwork so that they are not like, I'll put it off because I don't understand what they're asking for. And that helps. And again, like the FAFSA is a big one, but the Oregon One application is also a monster. It gives them a lot of help and a lot of options, but it can be really hard to get through.
Absolutely.
And then follow through the steps of making your appointment with the worker, to do your phone call, to do your in-person meeting, and what you need to do from there on. Did you meet? Did you follow through with your recertification and things like that? So that's things I help remind the students of as well.
So you help them really navigate that process.
Yes.
And I think that is such an important piece. And I was a social worker previously. And so oftentimes, it's tough to find time because, like you said, these applications are monsters and they really kind of require somebody keeping their eyes on them pretty consistently to kind of get them through the process. And so to have someone that, that they trust and they're building a relationship with you and you're able to kind of help guide them through that, I think that's just such an important piece. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I think in general, I think all of us in this room kind of come from this world, but if we have listeners that are not really, this has not been their experience or they don't know a ton about this type of work, what do you wish more people understood about the relationship between education, basic needs, and opportunity?
Mainly that asking for help is not depriving somebody else of that help. You'll get students that say, yeah, I could use a little help, but they need it worse. And they're not going to deprive anybody of the help just because they take it.
That's a very interesting piece. And you come across that quite often?
Quite often.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then I think really just the interconnectedness of it all, right? So if you're hungry, if you don't have shelter, if you don't have a place to live, if you don't have a place to study, all those things are impacting your ability to do well in school.
Yeah.
So really, this is a critical resource for student success.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love hearing stories because I think data is great and data is very important. But I think within this work as well, it's like really those stories that you get out of, those relationships that you have with students. So without naming names, is there a specific story or moment that really captures the impact of what you're doing here at the college?
I have two. I've had 3 or 4 different students come in as a GED student, complete their GED, and then I was able to help them get assistance through scholarships and such, and they moved right into becoming a full-time student and then I get to work with them all the way to
that's
graduation.
great.
So you're with them from the day they start until the day they graduate. But also, prior to this, I worked at the high schools, and we have program where high school students can come in, complete their
great.
associate degree before they even graduate high school.
Oh, wow.
So watching them go through high
Overachievers.
school, yes, overachievers, and they graduate high school, and 2 weeks later they graduate with an associate degree is something that is really a wonder to watch.
I cannot imagine. That's amazing. And what about you?
So yeah, I mean, definitely those GED students that move through our entire program. I think one of my favorite stories is a student who moved from out of the country, didn't speak English at all in their high school. I think they were a junior and didn't speak English. Came to Oregon Coast Community College, accessed resources.
Wow.
And was able to not only graduate from Oregon Coast Community College, but went on to get a degree from Oregon State University with a degree in, I think it was computer engineering or something like that.
Wow.
And now works in the field. So
That's amazing.
Pretty amazing story. Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine like being able to really kind of those GED students specifically and kind of seeing them like run the lifetime of the program is probably just like watching them over time. It's probably just an amazing piece of the work. So thank you for sharing those stories.
Watching their personal growth, I think, is just as rewarding
Yes.
as watching their academic growth.
What do you usually see just in terms of like personality traits or skills that you see develop out of that?
Mainly, they have more trust in their own abilities.
That's so important. Yeah, absolutely. So we did kind of touch on this, but we can just kind of go over it again, or maybe there's something else we want to add. But kind of as we were speaking before, we know that coastal communities really face unique challenges, whether it's housing availability, transportation, seasonal employment. What are some of the barriers you're seeing most often? We already spoke about a couple, but if there are any others that you think are almost like unique to this area, or just maybe are happening at a rate that's, higher than other areas, we can dive into that as well.
Accessing technology, so having a computer that they can use to do their schoolwork on, having the internet, and even a cell phone so that they can call for help. I really encourage study groups. But they have to have a way to connect. And so having that technology is one thing that we do is loan out laptops,
wow.
loan out webcams, and then we can help pay for phone or internet bills so they can have internet or a hotspot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is it the device itself, or is it like the access to Wi-Fi, or is it both?
It's both, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of people will have a tablet, but a tablet doesn't connect with our system as well as it should. So they really need that laptop. And so being able to have that laptop to give them really does help them academically.
Yeah.
Then I'd say probably a little bit more invisible one, but our percentage of first-generation college students, so students whose parents or grandparents do not have a college degree, we have a higher percentage than most other communities in Oregon. And so that means that really that kind of literacy about college, we just need to provide extra support for those students. What's a credit? What's a term?
Absolutely.
What's, all these kind of questions that a lot of people take for granted about, we provide those resources so students can better understand college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to give a shout out to the Shark Shack, which
Yes.
is our food pantry, but we also have hygiene supplies. And that includes laundry soap so that our students can have the ability to go out and clean, basically. If they're homeless or living in their car, they still can access the supplies that they need.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm so glad you brought that up because the last time I was here, that really made an impression on me, was just that there's this space that students can go, no questions asked, right? You know,
Yeah.
you guys don't require, there are no requirements for kind of accessing that those resources within there. And I'm just curious, like, if you could talk a little bit, like, how did that get started and how does it continue?
Yeah, so that actually started with student government.
Oh, cool.
So our student government got together and wanted to create that resource. This leadership in student government solidified that, and that's really how it got started. And then continuation, I'd say we do have a small amount coming from student government, so that's student fees. So we all kind of contribute, students all contribute to that, and then of course outside donors play a part in that too, as well as contributions from the college.
And can I ask how was the decision made that like we're not going to require any type of documentation or usually, you know, any type of pantry is like you have to kind of show that you are of need. So how did you guys come to that decision? And you know, I just wonder, that just feels like such an easy way to remove a barrier.
Students are by nature poor. They're pouring all of their funds into surviving and paying for their education. So by removing that barrier, they also remove the need to ask for resources and just say they're there, go help yourself. So yeah, it does actually remove some barriers that the students themselves are placing on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that students are not out there like trying to take advantage of these resources. It's really the opposite, right? So like Tracy said, they're saying, you know, oh, I don't want to take this resource because somebody else needs it more. So yeah, the reality is that we're not having students take advantage of this resource and go in and, you know, do their weekly shopping there. So the more we can do to take away barriers, the better.
I think that's great. And I also think, you know, the theme of this is like trust your students and trust what they're telling you about their own experience. And I think that's just a great model. So I applaud you guys for sticking with that. So really just looking ahead, really what's next for your team? Are there any new initiatives, goals, or just any growth areas that you guys are excited about?
Yes. We got public approval for a bond to build a new technology building, so OCAT.
Oh, that's great.
And they should be breaking ground here any time to start on that building, which is, I just think it's going to not only increase our student body, but it is going to give the community what they need in as far as certificates for people to get the education to supply the jobs and labor that is needed here in Lincoln County.
Oh, that's great. Can you talk a little bit more, like what type of certificates or what type of education will be happening there?
Yeah, so trades, so manufacturing and increased welding and our PAC program, which is for pre-apprenticeship. So really a lot of trade fields, hands-on stuff.
And you've seen that is a need that the community has. That is so
Absolutely.
great. And really getting back to like the whole issue of potentially not having enough folks that, you know, are able to help like develop the community to where it needs to be. You guys investing, the Oregon Coastal Community College investing in those trades, I think is just like a testament to your investment in this community. Yeah. So that, and when do we think that's going to open? We don't know yet.
So we're breaking ground next year.
Okay.
So, you know, construction projects have fluid timelines sometimes.
That's right. Yes.
I did want to talk about the future of our program a little bit.
Yeah.
So within the student resources and SNAP and kind of that area, really I want to see just continuing to decrease that stigma, right?
Yes.
Make that help unavoidable.
Yes.
So it's everywhere, and normalize asking for assistance. So it's not something that you need to be ashamed about. It's not something that you need to save for others. Just, you know, really make sure that everyone knows and everybody feels comfortable accessing our resources.
I think that's such a great point.
And for that, you have to meet the students where they're at.
Yes.
So our welding students are off campus, so I go out to the welding program to talk to those students.
Oh,
so
that's great.
They also can access help. I go to orientations. I go to class presentations so that not only do they know that they're there, but I can also answer other questions. And you'd be kind of surprised at the questions you get.
Yeah. What type of questions?
They actually, I have been asked about my educational journey because they want to be able to relate
Yes.
what they're going through, that they're not alone. So they do ask about resources, which are great. They ask about, again, what requirements are there. And when I tell them, oh, you can come access this program and there's absolutely no requirements, I don't ask for check stubs. I don't ask for anything. You come to me, say you're in help, you can access this program. And they're just like, wow, that's amazing.
Easier than they thought sometimes.
Yes.
Well, that's great. That's great. And so for our listeners who want to help, how can community members support your work?
Actually, there's several ways the community, well, besides bidding yes on the bond, that was great, they can, as a group or individually, they can sponsor a scholarship. Or if they don't want to go that high, they can support the Shark Shack. They can start a fund in the foundation for my program, and it doesn't have to be much. $50 can make a huge difference in the life of a student. So through the foundation, there's several ways that they can help the college. But it's really easy to support.
That's great.
I love the Shark Shack, and I would love to see it grow. I would love to see us grow in other areas as well, but everything takes its time. And right now, the building, getting more room, because we have expanded our student base to where we're a little bursting at the seams, which is wonderful that we have done that, but I would love to see more.
Absolutely.
And then one other way is, so non-monetary, you can also make direct contributions to the Shark Shack. So if you have food supplies donations that you'd like to make, hygiene supplies donations that you'd like to make, you can do that. Please do contact us before that, though.
Yes, don't show up unannounced, but please do contact ahead of time. Well, any last remarks before we close up here? Anything else you really want the listeners to know?
No, but I do thank you for coming and giving us this opportunity to talk about not only our college, but our programs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure, truly. Well, thank you so much, OCCC, for joining us today and sharing your insights. For those listening, if you'd like to learn more, get involved, or connect with the team at Oregon Coastal Community College, you can visit their website at oregoncoast.org. And as always, join us next time on the Better Lives podcast so we can keep building better lives together.
OregonCoast.edu.
Gosh, dang it. I knew it. Thank you so much, OCCC, for joining us today and sharing your insights. For those listening, if you'd like to learn more, get involved, or connect with the team at Oregon Coastal Community College, you can visit their website at oregoncoast.edu. And as always, join us next time on the Better Lives podcast so we can keep building better lives together.
The information provided here is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any financial decisions.